Good evening, good afternoon, or whenever you happen to be listening to this. Welcome to the Film Realist Podcast, the film and TV podcast from a complete nobody that's hopefully for somebody. Obviously, there's been some things happening in the meanwhile since the show had been on a brief hiatus. Apologies for that. When your graphics card decides not to output any visual display to any of your monitors, it makes recording audio and editing that podcast quite difficult. So apologies for any difficulties that may be moving forward with the show. I'm recording this off of I only have one, my old laptop. So things might not be as nice as I like it, but I couldn't wait to do this episode. I really wanted to talk about the film I'm going to be discussing today, which is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, the final film in Phase 4, and while I initially planned on doing a Phase 4 tier list, as you can see if you're following at FilmRealist_ on Twitter and Instagram, Twitter forever, however long it seems to last, I learned just before recording this today that the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special is actually included in Phase 4. So I don't want to list everything and then have to move something in later for an episode. So once that is finished airing at the end of this month, I believe it's supposed to be coming out November 25th. So just a couple weeks from now, I will be doing an official tier list, and hopefully we'll then have the opportunity to kind of watch maybe some more of the films or specials and really get my opinion locked down as to where I think they fit. It will be an S, A, B, C, D list. I won't have a delete this section, but that will be it for an upcoming episode. I don't have anything nailed down for next week, but as I said already, I'm going to be reviewing Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. In this week's episode, there will be a spoiler and non-spoiler section of the podcast. So if you do want to avoid spoilers or skip directly to them, you can, because time codes will be listed in the description. So let's get into Black Panther spoiler-free portion of the review. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, directed again by Ryan Coogler and written by Ryan Coogler and Joe Robert Cole. I was very excited for this movie. I think it's been well known that I thought it had the best trailers, and it was the Phase 4 film I felt that I'd finally been waiting to see in Phase 4. It's been a real up and down period for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. A lot of viewers feel that the consistency has not been anywhere near the tier of films that Marvel has made previously. Some may say it's always been the same. I haven't personally felt that way, but I was very excited for this film, and I am happy to say that I was not disappointed. I think that the introduction of Namor in the film was a fantastic antagonist to the Wakandans as a whole. I would not consider this to be a spoiler, but I think that Letitia Wright as the lead with Shuri she gives a phenomenal performance, as well as Angela Bassett as the Queen of Wakanda, as Ramonda. The whole film deals with the tragic passing away of T'Challa, and you see how multiple different characters are dealing with their own kind of grief. And I said previously that I thought that this was going to provide a experience in the theater that was going to be unlike anything that I had experienced before. And unfortunately, that did happen. However, it was also problematic in where the screening I went to, there were consistent interruptions from a group of children in the film. So even some of the heavier emotional beats of the film were slightly disconnected from my experience, as I was constantly hearing talking from in front of me at the theater, which was not ideal for this experience. I thought that the class that they were able to handle the passing away of this character while not making it a spectacle is a very tightrope walk to accomplish, and I believe that Ryan Coogler did that very, very well. The action in the film is quite amazing. I think it's really cool to get to see two different kinds of fighting styles, where you get a Latin American influence and then obviously more of an African based in the fighting. and more technological to some degree with how the Wakandans fight. Having Letitia Wright and Angela Bassett as the leads, they carry the emotional core of the film. At the same time, we are introduced to a plethora of new characters. Obviously, Riri Williams is in the film, and Tana Huerta as Namor provides what I did not think was possible, but an equally compelling antagonist to Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger in the first film. I really appreciate that Ryan Coogler gives a depth to his, and he doesn't even quote them as villains, he quotes them as antagonists to the protagonists or the heroes of the film, in that their point of views are justified, and that if you wanted to side with them, you would totally be in your right. And unfortunately, character attributes or decisions that they make fundamentally make them the antagonist, because we are sided with the protagonist, and in that case, it is the Wakandans, with the Talokans wanting certain things from the Wakandans because of their position in the world. I think this is one of the first films to really deliver a spectacle, unlike anything we've seen before with the MCU, having water-based fights as well as air tactical fights with Riri Williams as a prototype Ironheart. I think that Dominique Thorne was really great as this character. You get to see another young genius who uses her intellect for different things, unlike Peter Parker or Tony Stark or even Shuri to some degree, and the relationship between them as almost step sisters or a small mentor-mentee relationship was really, really cool. And I especially enjoyed where we got to see Okoye moving forward, feeling that she has this responsibility to protect Shuri as she is the head of the Dora Milaje. And even with characters like Nakia, played by Lupita Nyong'o, who that character was more of a free spirit to some degree in the first film, and we get to see what her actions are after the death of T'Challa, and why that character makes the decisions that she does. And one of the things that I liked most about the film was that we really do get to see how Wakanda's relationship with other nations has developed since Black Panther. One aspect that I don't think was addressed to some degree was the fact that the first Black Panther, at this point in time, happened about 9 years ago within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, given now that's supposed to take place somewhat in 2020 or in 2016, and this is likely at some point in 2024 or 2025, given how Endgame was 5 years after Infinity War. That jump of 5 years has really moved the needle as to when exactly all of these things are happening. I don't want to get into who is the Black Panther because that may be a spoiler to some degree. I think if you're really paying attention to the marketing, you may be able to pick up on who it is. I think that's something that the film doesn't use as a surprise, but ultimately uses very well as a character narrative and where that character may be going moving forward. Other than that, there's not a ton to say about it. I think that the film provides a very compelling and heartfelt tribute to Chadwick Boseman and the impact of Black Panther on film as a culture and the importance of that representation and pushing that representation even more forward, given the fact that the Talokans are played by Latinx actors, and adding more diversity to the MCU is awesome, given how a significant amount of these characters were created in a vacuum and were not representative of the Earth's culture as a whole. So I think that that was something really cool. I think that Tana Huerta as Namor is a character I can't wait to see moving forward. I want to see him butt heads with other characters in the MCU, which I think is part of the purpose of introducing a character like that. However, I think that his story, along with Shuri's, is something that runs parallel, and seeing how their decisions ultimately lead them down their certain paths was really, really great to watch. I think this is certainly one of the best films in phase 4 of the MCU, and it may be one of the best MCU movies, period, in my humble opinion. Now, I can't get into any more detail without getting into spoilers. If you do not want to hear the spoilers, you can jump out of the review now, maybe go see it, and then jump in and listen to spoilers. But that will do it for my spoiler-free section of the review. I recommend you check it out. Spoilers for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. You have been given your warning. So the film opens with T'Challa dying, and Shuri is drastically trying to recreate the heart-shaped herb, which gives the king or queen of Wakanda the Black Panther abilities. Obviously, they were all destroyed except by Killmonger, except for the one that T'Challa was able to take when he was hiding with the Jabari in the mountains. She unfortunately is unable to do this, and T'Challa passes away. We get to see a very, very beautiful Wakandan funeral. Obviously, one of the elements of the film that I really enjoyed that we see Shuri dealing with, and Ramonda constantly telling her this, is that to them in their culture that death is not the end. And we see this throughout all of the Black Panther parts of the MCU. We hear this for the first time in Civil War, and we do see this moving forward in Black Panther when he has his vision and he sees his father. But this is something that Shuri is dealing with. She feels that she is responsible for this, and she does not want to address her grief and think about her brother. One of the elements that I enjoyed most about this is that she is particularly holding off burning her ceremonial robes that she wears during T'Challa's funeral, because that is supposed to be the end, when you were supposed to have not flashbacks because you don't have those, but really looking at the memories you had of that person, because she feels, and she has a fantastic conversation with Ramonda about this, that would be addressing and really accessing her grief, and it's not that something she wants to do. She wants to use her brain. She does not want to fall victim to her heart. And I believe that the way that Ryan Coogler was able to address all these things was something that I did not expect to be this deep, but given that he's made 3 phenomenal films already with Fruitvale Station, Creed, and the first Black Panther, it shouldn't really come as a surprise anymore what a phenomenal filmmaker he is. I mentioned in the non-spoilers, but Angela Bassett as well as Queen Ramonda really crushes it in this movie. Her performance of a utterly destroyed mother having to bury a parent, not to mention in the last film she had to bury her husband, and dealing with the fallout of Wakanda's relationship with other nations and how people are constantly trying to get vibranium from them because they believe we should have free trade, and they believe that they should hold on to it given the rest of the world's use of dangerous armaments. And I think that's really interesting to have this powerful nation pushing back against the other nations, and ultimately what that leads to when they are having their meetings and the summits. And why they are particularly concerned is the fact that somebody was able to create a vibranium detector, which was something that was not previously possible. And who else would have done that by Riri Williams? I love Dominique as Riri Williams. Ironheart is a more recent character to the comics, introduced in the mid-2010s, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 2016. And having a character with the intellect of somebody like Shuri, I think allows for that character to kind of be in a place of an elder sibling and really fill a void of having a familial relation or a sibling relationship with a character, obviously with T'Challa passing away. I mentioned Tenoch Huerta as Namor. I thought it was absolutely incredible what they were able to do with him. The abilities that he is able to do with the flight almost seems like he has a cheat code. He has super strength, nearly invulnerable skin, as well as the fact that he can swim super fast and he can fly. But the way that the abilities are represented there, it almost shows that he is running through the air and can stop on a dime, which is a really cool way of flying that we haven't seen before. I like that a lot of Riri Williams scenes with her Iron Man tech as well are developing similarly to how Iron Man was, particularly with the first film and the tank top and hammering out the actual chest plate was really cool, and that her arc reactors are in the shape of a heart, which is really interesting to see that somebody is able to understand this technology on a level that somebody else was not capable of, specifically in something like Iron Man 2. I think that the interactions with the other parts of the Marvel Cinematic Universe were also really cool. We get to see Everett Ross back, and we learn that his ex-wife and post-credit queen of Phase 4 with Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who is the director of the CIA, so we learn what her position is. We do not see any other people connected with her, but we do see that she is clearly still trying to recoup anybody she can and potentially involve anybody with the Wakandans. And Ross still sides with the Wakandans because they obviously saved his life, and he's developed meaningful relationships with them because he is their inside scoop as to exactly what is going on, although he is not able to learn about Namor. So Namor's mirroring character path along with Shuri is something that I really, really enjoyed. Having these two characters who are bent on vengeance given their relationships with the outside world, Namor's being that he is a descendant of the Talokan who were brought to the oceans by a ocean-based heart-shaped herb, which gives them their abilities, and that he is the only one, because he was in utero when his mother consumed the heart-shaped herb, that he was able to still breathe in the air, and that he is a mutant. Another version of mutant. Cue the X-Men theme. It was not used in this movie, and I'm glad that it wasn't, like it was used in Miss Marvel, but he is bent on destroying humanity given the fact that they tried to return and his mother was taken from him. And him and Shuri both being bent on vengeance is something I really appreciated, and it allows for Shuri to have, while similar, not the exact same mentality that her brother did after the passing away of his father in Civil War. I like that mirroring given the fact that Black Panther's characters are going through similar things, but obviously she feels that she is guilty potentially for the passing of her brother because she was not able to save him. And the relationship between those two characters is something I found quite captivating within the film, and I enjoyed especially their fight scenes together, one being able to fly, as well as somebody using their brains and technology to ultimately win the fight. I guess in saying so, I may have revealed that Shuri does become the Black Panther. She is ultimately able to recreate the heart-shaped herb based on a piece of jewelry that Namor gives her, which has a strand from their version of the heart-shaped herb. So she is able to become the Black Panther. Although we do not see her ultimately crowned queen or have the water-based fight because she is dealing with other things. We do see part of the ceremony, which is awesome because that was such a great set piece of the first film. And the reason I mentioned that she was able to become queen to begin with is that we do see Ramonda killed in Wakanda while trying to save Riri from Namor. And why I enjoyed this film more than I expected was because it, for me, rang similar to a game I really liked, which is The Last of Us. And The Last of Us Part 2 is specifically all about when you are blinded by vengeance, how you may ultimately lose everything else that you hold dear. And getting to see a Marvel character go down this path in a significantly heavier fashion than we did see with T'Challa was gripping. I thought that Letitia Wright was phenomenal in this film, and I was shocked to see how well she did as the centerpiece of this movie, because losing Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa from the Marvel Cinematic Universe could have been an impossible hurdle for them to vault over, but the fact that they were able to do so with a movie that is respectful of the legacy of that character, at the same time expanding the universe and moving characters forward and giving them compelling stories as a result of the passing away of this actor/character, it was something special, and I really enjoyed the film. I'm anxious to go back and see it and hopefully not have it interrupted again, so that may require me to go to a later screening of the film, but I'm excited to see where we go with the Wakanda universe moving forward. I know there was a show in development, and I know that we are going to see Ironheart in her own television series, which is going to be a direct sequel to where we see her in this. And more often than not, I may tell you directly what's in the post-credit scene of the film, but I think it is a special moment in this film for fans of Chadwick Boseman and fans of Black Panther that I don't actually want to ruin it for you. So I really recommend you check out Black Panther Wakanda Forever on the biggest screen possible. It has an incredible score by Ludwig Göransson, who has scored, I believe, all of Ryan Coogler's films. If not, I am not certain if he did Fruitvale Station, but the spectacle of this is everything you want from a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. And this being the last film of Phase 4, I think it ends on an excellent cap, and I cannot wait to see where we go moving forward. That will do it for this episode of the Film Realist Podcast. I'll see you next time.